Hello from the Heartland. My name is Jenna, and this is Smarter News. News when it matters and why it matters. Our Smarter series features unique people who help us think and live smarter. One of the most evil and violent days in American history happened on a holiday known for love. Valentine's Day 2018, the occasion of one of the nation's deadliest school shootings. It happened in Parkland, Florida, a small city less than an hour north of Miami, at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, a diverse, large public school with more than 3,000 students. 17 people died, murdered by a shooter eventually found, arrested, and currently awaiting trial. The Parkland shooting, as it's now called, almost immediately became fodder for a debate on gun laws in America. But that wasn't the priority of one father who captured the nation's attention. He is the father of Meadow Pollack, a high school senior murdered that day. She was shot 9 times as one of the shooter's final victims. Meadow was 18 years old. She was her father's only daughter. Days after the shooting, Andrew, who goes by Andy, had this to say on live national TV in a meeting with the president.
I'm very angry that this happened because it keeps happening. 9/11 happened once and they fixed everything. How many schools, how many children have to get shot? It stops here with this administration and me. I'm not gonna sleep until it's fixed. And Mr. President, we're gonna fix it. Because I'm gonna fix it. I'm not gonna rest. And look at, my boys need to live with this. I want to see everyone, you guys look at this. Me, I'm a man, but to see your children go through this, buried their sister. So that's what I keep saying this, because I want it to sink in, not forget about this. We can't forget about it. All these school shootings, it doesn't make sense. Fix it. It should have been one school shooting, and we should have fixed it. And I'm pissed, because my daughter I'm not going to see again. She's not here. She's not here. She's in North Lauderdale at whatever it is, King David Cemetery. That's where I go to see my kid now. And it stops. We all work together and come up with the right idea, and it's school safety. It's not about gun laws right now. That's another fight, another battle. Let's fix the schools, and then you guys can battle it out whatever you want. But we need our children safe.
Andy Pollack hasn't had much sleep. He has tirelessly pursued a solution for school shootings, including writing a book, Why Meadow Died, the People and Policies That Created the Parkland Shooter and Endanger America's Students. He says it's a tribute to his daughter Meadow, who he names after a character on one of his favorite TV shows, The Sopranos. Andy grew up in Long Island, New York, but after his parents moved to Florida, he decided to follow.
I had an opportunity, and I thought it would be a good community to raise children in. You know, the kids could be outside all the time. It was, it was a nice suburb, not a lot of traffic. And I just thought it would be a good move, but it ended up being a terrible move.
Andy had gone on a bike ride with his wife on February 14th, 2018, when a shooter walked into his daughter's high school right before dismissal. The shooter was noticed by several school staff members who knew him as the, quote, crazy boy that some believed would shoot up the school. And that's exactly what he did in less than 10 minutes. Andy discusses the warning signs in his book, egregious examples of violent, disturbing behavior the young man exhibited year over year, dating back to kindergarten. 5 years before he murdered his classmates, he declared in class, quote, I'm a bad kid, I want to kill. Concerns were raised by teachers, social workers, and even his own mother about his aggressive and destructive behavior. Yet time and time again, he was allowed to return to a regular school environment with other students like Meadow.
They wanted to mainstream him. Uh, he was emotionally disturbed, and they wanted, and all through middle school, it took him months to get out. The teachers did months and months of paperwork just to be able to get him into a special school. In the notes, it's very jaw dropping, like you say. There's notes where he says he wants to kill, where he has to be tied down his desk because he's throwing his desk around, how he's infatuated with guns. He's infatuated with the Civil War because there's killing involved. He wants to know if they eat the bodies. These are all notes from the teacher. That's like not hearsay, what I uncovered. And then they mainstream him later. They put him in the school with my daughter, where he had to be, where I found out he needed to be frisked every day. And he was so dangerous at the school, he wasn't even allowed in with a backpack, but they allowed him to be at the school.
Why prioritize this particularly obviously disturbed student over just, your regular average Joe student?
It's horrible. And when you think about, when I look at all the notes that the teacher had, what she had to do, and how much time she had to put into it, it's just mind-boggling what the teachers and students have to go through dealing with disruptive kids that shouldn't emotionally disturb, that shouldn't be in these schools. On average, in a lot of these schools, a teacher spends 10 minutes per lesson on a 40-minute lesson on dealing with disruptive children. So it really takes a lot away from the teachers and from the students, and it hurts the kids that are disruptive because they're not getting held accountable. And they should, some of these kids, listen, if a kid is special needs and has dyslexia or autism and he's not disruptive, we all want to help them and mainstream them. But when they label kids emotionally disturbed or oppositional defiant disorder, and they put them in a class with kids that just want to learn, it's terrible. It creates a chaotic, terrible environment. And then put into it where they don't want to suspend or expel kids for being disruptive, or even kids could sell drugs, assault a teacher without any fear of being arrested. It's just the perfect storm for failure in school districts.
So, a few things to know at this point, and we'll do a brief overview as any of these topics could take a few hours of discussion and debate to properly flesh out. But here's something you should know, a phrase often used called the school to prison pipeline. The ACLU describes it this way: a disturbing national trend wherein children are funneled out of public schools and into the juvenile and criminal justice systems. The argument the ACLU and others make is that suspending students or having them arrested for infractions criminalizes them instead of counseling them. Advocates say suspensions often disproportionately impact students of color, and once a student becomes a criminal in the eyes of the law and others, they more than likely can't break out of that role. The state of California recently passed a law that will make it illegal for elementary and middle school students to be suspended for, quote, willful defiance, a term some thought was too broad. The legislator who wrote the bill says this way students will stay in school where they belong. This follows a move by the federal government during the Obama administration to encourage schools to lower rates of suspensions and arrests. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is in Florida's Broward School District, one of the largest in the nation. The superintendent worked previously with the Obama administration's Secretary of Education, and according to local reports, believed in the federal policy recommendations, which led to fewer suspensions and arrests. Max Eden, a senior fellow at the think tank, the Manhattan Institute, called this policy a very dangerous road, criticizing the plan for putting students and teachers potentially at risk with dangerous or disturbed students who shouldn't be in the classroom. He also co-wrote the book with Andy, sharing descriptions of what they believe to be the impact of the school district's lenient decisions. In one chapter, Andy and Max tell the story of a teacher, Kim, who describes the school as covering up discipline problems. For example, instead of suspending students for vaping in the bathrooms, the school administrators decided to simply lock some of the bathroom doors so no one could use them. Those bathrooms on the third floor were locked when the shooting occurred. A senior boy, Joaquin Oliver, tried to take cover in the bathrooms but couldn't. He was killed. Meadow was found with her body draped over a freshman girl, both of them shot across from the locked bathroom doors. Andy says not enough parents know what their school's policies are.
So I tell parents, regardless of your party affiliation, you really need to take a good look at these policies that aren't going to be, will create a chaotic, unsafe environment in schools. You know, you got to, it's just common sense. If a kid is so disruptive where he's, there could be an assault with a teacher, disrupting the class, there has to be consequence for it, for these children in order to have, an environment where kids could learn. And the path that they take with these leniency programs does the opposite. It doesn't help anyone. And that's why private schools, most charter schools, or homeschooling is an option for parents. And I even tell them, if you can't do that, then you got to look to move. Not every public school has these policies, but a lot of them do. And really, nothing at the end of the day is worth it if your kid is subjected to a disruptive classroom, or, worse, getting bullied, or even, like what happened to me. My daughter was murdered in a school, and these policies allowed for it to happen.
Andy writes mainly about parental accountability, encouraging parents to know the school's policy and to stay focused on school safety rather than gun laws, a decision that has made his plight problematic at times. He says marginalizing him from getting his message out.
I wanted to know the facts. That's what I put into this book, the facts of what happened in Parkland, and why it happened, and the policies that let it happen. Okay, and I wanted to make kids safe, schools safer, teachers safer, and what we all could do to make it safer. And because I didn't want to debate guns, it made me a Republican, conservative, pro-Second Amendment guy. I'm not a gun, I have guns, but I'm not an expert in guns. But why do I want to debate about guns was my thing, when we could really, let's just focus on the schools. What could we do in the schools? And I would tell people, look, 9/11 happened. We fixed the airports. There's no gun debate. Federal buildings where all the politicians work, they're all protected. There's no gun debate. Why is it that when I want to just fix the schools, they got to have a gun debate? So I don't get it.
So what should parents do to help?
Well, the one thing would be talk with your kids. I tell everyone, I used to enjoy putting the phone down. And I think the best thing you could do is put the phones down and take a walk with your child. I think that's the best way you can communicate than just taking them for dinner. Or just take a walk with your kids and ask them what's going on at school, and read the book, Why Meadow Died. And really don't take for granted that the school's safe and they're going to be in a safe spot, because it's not always that case. And that's what I would recommend to every parent, to do that, and make sure you're putting your kid in the right environment where they can really learn.
It's great advice, and one I'm going to take to heart with my kids as well, Andy. Just take a walk. Put down the phone and take a walk.
That's it. The kids, you'll be amazed at how much kids will talk with you if you put the phones away and just take a walk wherever it is. Around the corner, you could always walk. There's always trails or something. And just take a walk and let your kids just listen.
Andy, really appreciate your time today. Really enjoyed the book. As I mentioned, encourage our audience to check it out. Absolutely. And just a lot of gratitude to you for the time today and for all the work that you've done, not only in the community where your daughter was murdered, but also for all of us and school safety across America. Thank you so much, Andy.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Andy's book is called Why Meadow Died. I know this is a difficult topic to tackle, but reading this book really opened my eyes. I never thought to ask these questions about school policy, and these policies about suspensions or leniency start early in elementary school. The book works as a guide for parents, and instead of turning away, I highly encourage you to read it. Directly confronting the tough information often empowers us, and this is the case with this very informative, very emotional, very productive read that really makes us smarter. I'm Jenna, and this is Smarter News. Quick, concise, nonpartisan Smarter News, a refuge from the storm. I'm Jenna. Thank you for choosing Smarter.